Taller than they ever called for.
Yeah, you probably.
Is this what we're voting on? This one tonight?
There's a change that you got a new copy.
Okay.
A couple of changes.
Yeah, that's probably.
We use AQ and
Hey, did you really?
I got that. No, they're not screwed. The other two boys had soccer games. I come for our, put it back, so we didn't make it comment. But they don't thread, but
I
they're.
still don't only have. that on my
That
screen.
man right there.
Yeah, that was-
Which one?
The second one.
You know anything or repairs computers? They can still finish eight. I've seen the name on Facebook, but I forgot who it's with. That'll be enough for Bruce.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks everyone for coming this evening. We have a varied meeting tonight. We're going to start off with a public hearing, and Mr. Polite and Mr. Wallace will handle that.
Yeah, before we go on the record, this is a little bit different type of hearing than what you're used to, the public hearings. This is a public hearing where the property owner is invited to come here and show cause why his building should not be torn down. And this hearing, according to our code, is supposed to be before the building commissioner, which is Mark. So if I refer to Mark and ask him if he'll accept exhibits or mark this or mark that, that's why I'm doing that. Just by way of some explanation. So, all right, now we can go ahead. This hearing is called at 7:02 p.m. in the Board of Alderman chambers at Herman City Hall. This is a show cause hearing to be conducted by Mark Wallace, the city administrator and building commissioner for the city of Herman. Mr. Wallace, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
This hearing is being held to determine whether the building at 910 Jefferson Street, Herman, Missouri, is a dangerous building per the terms of Herman Municipal Code, section 525.020. This hearing is on the record and a transcript is being prepared. I would ask Commissioner Wallace to accept the following exhibits for the record. Exhibit 1 would be the entire Code of Ordinances of the City of Herman. Exhibit 2 would be a certificate of title from Gasconade County Abstract indicating that fee simple title to the real estate in question is vested in 910 Washington LLC, a Missouri Limited Liability Company. And then exhibit number 3 is Missouri Secretary of State's records indicating that the registered agent for 910 Washington LLC is Arthur Brigham of 500 West 9th Street, Herman, Missouri 65041. Exhibit 4 is a letter dated June 17th, 2019, addressed to Art Brigham by Lee Regal, indicating or informing him that violations of the code exist and providing a correction order with respect to this property. And exhibit number 5 is a notice of hearing and order to show cause dated July 26, 2019, which I prepared and put into the mail on July 26, 2019, addressed to 910 Washington LLC at 500 West 9th Street in Herman, also addressed to Herman Equipment Manufacturing Company, Inc., care of Sam C. Dorman, D-O-R-M-A-N, registered agent at 10386 Gosport Drive, that's G-O-S-P-O-R-T, St. Louis, Missouri 63141.
61.
63141.
Thank you.
And Exhibit 6 is a certified mail return receipts indicating that, in fact, the mail was not delivered to 500 West 9th Street, Herman, Missouri, nor was it delivered to 10386 Gosport Drive in St. Louis, Missouri. Exhibit number 7 is a notice of hearing in order to show cause, which was published in the Herman Advertiser Courier, providing notice of the hearing. And Exhibit 8 is an affidavit of publication from the Advertiser Courier, confirmed that the first insertion of the notice was on the 14th of August, and the second was on the 21st day of August, 2019. And Commissioner Wallace, do you agree to accept these exhibits into the record?
Yes.
I would like to now call Lee Regal, the city building inspector, to the podium.
Good evening.
Could you state your name for the record?
Lee Regal. Excuse me. I'm the building inspector for the city of Herman.
How long have you been in that position?
11 years.
In your position as building inspector, have you had the chance to become familiar with the building at 910 Jefferson Street?
To some degree, I have. Yes.
And how? And how did you first encounter it or visit it?
Well, I was directed by the city to make an inspection of that building, which I did some weeks ago. And get to my notes. The property at 910 Jefferson Street, the inspection I made, I did not have access to the interior of the building. The inspection I made was from the public right-of-way. And what I could observe is that the structure is primarily a masonry block building, and a roof system consists of either steel, wood, or a combination of the same. Under the building code, a structure like that would be classified rating as an I-1 for light industrial, and the construction type would be a 5B construction. It's a large building. The footprint is approximately 60,000 square feet. What I could observe, and I have pictures I'd like to submit, is that from the right-of-way again, a lot of broken and missing windows, glass, stained walls, vegetation growing on the walls. The roof and the framing shows signs of serious deterioration. Actually, there are trees growing on the roof, this is obvious, but anyway, anybody that goes around the building, I mean, it's no secret. And under the ordinance, I determined that under the dangerous building code, letter A, paragraph 9, those buildings that become in a condition of being unsafe, unsanitary, and dangerous to the health and safety and general welfare of the city of Herman. And I do believe that this is the case, that it is an unsafe building. I think the business with the roof, I think it's about to fail. It's going to fail. Just when, but it's going to happen pretty quick. And what that's going to do to the walls, it's anybody's guess. It's an old, deteriorated, neglected building. I've got pictures here if anybody would like to see them. It's our thing. I'll pass them on. I took the pictures, so look at them. But it's obvious.
So we'll go ahead and mark the pictures, Exhibit 8
Yeah,
for
okay.
tonight, so keep those, make those part of the record. I'm sorry, Exhibit 9.
Okay.
Anything
And
else?
in addition to that, I'm sure everyone's aware of the section of the code that complies with 920.710 non-conforming use under paragraph A, section 1, I guess it is. In part, it says, where a non-conforming use has been discontinued for a period of 6 months or more, it shall not be reinstated. I'm told that the city had discontinued the services of that building in October 2016. we all know it's a non-conforming building, and if by chance somebody would reestablish that non-conforming portion of that building, for that building to comply with today's building code requirements, it would be, the cost would be, it just wouldn't be feasible. That's my view. And I say well, I don't know, if I need to make an interior inspection at some time, if that would come about, then I would require a structural engineer to be part of that party.
But as far as what you could personally view from the public right-of-way, were you able to form the opinion that it is in fact a dangerous building?
Absolutely. It just, in my opinion, it's just a matter of time. And that could be first heavy snow.
And I think you hit on this as well, but just to clarify, do you think that it's possible to repair the building so that it will no longer be in violation in terms of the city code?
It's possible. Would it be economical? No way. It would indeed have to comply with today's building codes. Engineering work, and it just, yeah, there would be no question about that. I don't think it'd be workable, no.
And do you believe that the building should be demolished?
Well, I would think it can't continue sitting the way it is. I mean, at one time, it indeed served a purpose for the city of Herman, I suspect, but I guess those days are gone.
And you did send a letter to Art Brigham dated June 17th,
Yeah,
isn't that right?
Right. Yes.
Do you believe with the conditions in and around the building that it is a nuisance?
Absolutely.
Do you believe it is unsightly?
Yes.
Are you asking Commissioner Wallace to find that the building is dangerous and to order the owner to destroy it and demolish it within 30 days? And if not, then for the city to go ahead and proceed to demolish the building?
That's correct.
All right, and is Mr. Brigham here? Is anyone from 910 Washington LLC here? Is there an attorney here representing 910 Washington LLC? Is there anyone here who claims to be a tenant or an occupant of the property? Is there anyone present who claims to have a lien or any other interest in the property? Let the record reflect that no one has responded to these questions. And Mr. Regal, I don't have any further questions.
Thank you.
I would like to say a couple of things for the record. Again, I personally mailed the notice of hearing and order to show cause on July 26, 2019. As I mentioned, the certified letter receipts came back as not having been delivered or not deliverable. However, I believe the city can proceed with this hearing because the notice of hearing was published as required by law, and also because an attorney named Bill Higley, Higley, purporting to represent the owner, called me on Friday, August the 23rd, to request that the hearing that was scheduled for the next Monday be continued. So we know that he got notice, or that the property owner got notice. Attorney Higley also called me today at noon to discuss tonight's meeting and to say that most likely neither Mr. Brigham nor he would be here. And he knew that we were going to proceed. And I have a question now for Mayor Kerber. Mayor, you spoke to Mr. Brigham also, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
When was that?
Friday.
And did the way he spoke to you, did it seem like he knew about this hearing?
Absolutely.
Mr. Wallace, have you seen the building?
Yes, I have.
And do you have any comment about its condition or
It's an
concern?
eyesore, a nuisance, it's falling down, it needs to be demolished.
Okay. Mr. Wallace, do you find that this building is a dangerous building?
Yes, I do.
Do you find that it would be in the best interest of the citizens of Herman, Missouri for the building to be demolished?
Yes, I do.
And do you hereby order the building to be demolished?
I do.
Okay, so what I will do next is I need to prepare what they call written findings of fact and conclusions. And we will put that together along with a transcript that's being prepared. I will prepare that for Mark's signature. We will send that to the property owner, and that'll confirm that he has 30 days from the date that that thing is signed to take the building down, or else the city may do so. Mr. Wallace, would you desire to tax the costs of this proceeding, including my fees and the court reporter's fees against the property as a special tax bill?
Yes, sir.
And this will conclude the hearing. That's all for the record.
You spell Brigham,
Brighan.
A-N.
M. Okay, Mary, that's all I have.
Okay, well, thank you very much. While the reporter is gathering her equipment together and getting ready to leave and so on, I'll move on to my report, which is very short this evening, and I'm sure some people like that, and I like it myself. But, the August results, financial results, are in on the utilities, and every utility again operated in the black for the month of August. We have submitted our grant request to SEMA for flood relief money, and Mark will report on this in a few minutes, so he has further information on that. We will approve a contract tonight to begin the Epley-Fricky Road rebuild in Seatown. And Mark has information, I believe, or we're going to discuss that. Tonight, we will begin to discuss the moving of our municipal court. It's an agenda item from city domicile to county domicile. And we'll get into all the details that we have at this time. We won't vote on that tonight, but it's the beginning of a discussion. It's a very serious one, and we need to know all the potential pros and cons on that. AT&T cell tower, they're going to need to have a temporary ramp built. I think Mark knows about that one. To get a drilling rig over the existing retaining wall to complete the drilling for the geotech. In other words, the foundation of this. And their permits, they've asked for information on that, and I think we will either get that to them or we have gotten it to them. So that's moving forward. We have approvals, and we'll get whatever else we need to speed that up. The Jazz Festival was this past weekend, and I thought it was fantastic. It was well attended. The music was great. The weather cooperated. And finally, it was not unbearable, and I think everybody there had a good time. I got to talk with quite a few of them. And the River City Cruisers Car Show was Sunday, and of course they were greeted at dawn by thunder and lightning and rain, but they quickly moved it from the lower city park to the parking lot at the high school and middle school. They had a really large group of cars, fantastic. I enjoyed it. I judged out there. They were a little late getting started because of all the movement and decisions and so forth, but they considered it to be very successful, and I did too. So basically, that's my report for this evening. Mark?
I've been working with the Department of Natural Resources on the maintenance of our landfills. We have mowed one, and we have to do some landscaping on the other. Also, still awaiting word from FEMA on disaster funds allocated for the last flood incident. I spoke with FEMA today, and they told me the next step will be a meeting in Columbia for all entities affected by the flood, and the meeting could be as soon as next week. The city has completed approximately 50 core samples of various streets around town. We will get a report from the paving company with all the pertinent information. And we are waiting for some hardware from AQM. As soon as it arrives, the agendas and the announcements will return to the city's cable channel.
Okay, so what is the status now? Because people are telling me.
We're waiting for the hardware. It's actually a laptop with PowerPoint
Okay,
that will be dedicated to this computer here for the listing of all the agendas and all the information.
okay.
It's been ordered, we're just waiting for it to come in.
And all that information can be found on our website as well.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
That's-
Okay. Is that,
Yes, sir.
okay. Let's move forward then to the ordinances.
Excuse me, weren't you gonna talk about something about CETOL?
It's an agenda item, just
Oh,
briefly, we've,
coming up.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll get it when we get to the agenda.
Okay. The first ordinance on for this evening is an ordinance to establish sign regulations. It's on for second reading. We looked at it and discussed it some at the last meeting. And everybody should have in front of you the most recent version or revised version that's got some changes on it that are redlined. We discussed some changes at the last meeting. Bruce had a couple of comments regarding signs for yard sales and garage sales, and Dave had a couple of comments, and so those have been taken into account. Also, I have gone through it again since last meeting with a view towards focusing on any regulations that might be in here that deal with content-based regulation and trying to do away with those, okay? As I think we discussed last time, and as the board might understand, being a public governmental body, you can regulate signs, you can regulate sizes, you can regulate lights and lighting and things in various neighborhoods in the city. But if you try to regulate what signs say, you could run into some constitutional issues. And so, Mayor, you want me to briefly go through this and explain some of these changes?
Well, I don't know
Guys
if we
and
need to,
gals.
they have copies of all of it, and if they have questions, we can ask them, and basically, I think it's kind of been sanitized, and it's pretty good shape, I think, very good shape. And does anybody have questions about any of the changes that were made? They were all made to reduce or eliminate our controlling the content of somebody's sign. So they're allowed to say pretty much anything reasonable. We don't have anything in there, I think, that says you can't say that on a sign. So if anybody has a question about it or whatever, I would suggest that you look it over and ask your questions. And if not, or while you're doing that, we can see if there's any other comments from the public. And I think we have at least 2 people here that may want to speak. But should we proceed on with that, or?
You might have.
Okay,
Before you do that, I will say one thing. I spent quite a bit of time reading and rereading the provisions in here regarding real estate signs, and again, yard and garage sale signs. It is by calling a sign a real estate sign, which you put out that advertises something for sale or for lease, is that a regulation of a sign based on its content? We left the regulations in here regarding real estate signs. There's a Missouri statute on point that says that no city can enact an ordinance which forbids or restrict the right of an owner of an interest in real property or his agent from displaying on the property a sign of reasonable dimensions as may be determined by local ordinance. In other words, again, as you might guess, we can't tell people you can't have for sale signs in your yard. But it is within the power of the board, in my opinion, to limit the size of for sale signs and other physical features of it.
Okay. Scott, do you want to come forward and state your name at the podium and
Well, I appreciate Mr. David for going through and looking at the ordinance. My concern now is that obviously you got to adjust it, and obviously you guys have gotten a copy of it, but it hasn't been posted on the website, or had it been posted on the bulletin board up there as far as adjustments to that ordinance. And so I'd ask that you may delay the reading until you actually had a chance to read the document. The second thing, of course, is still the constitutional issue that I raised. I realize what you're quoting there, but I really would ask you to look at Reed versus the city of Gilbert, and let's not be the city of Gilbert. And the city of Gilbert is a case in which the Supreme Court said, even though on face it doesn't look like you're regulating content, if you said simply yard sign and didn't say real estate sign, you'd probably be okay. But once you start dedicating what that content is, I'm looking at federal cases, I think you're going to have an issue. But the real issue is, do we need to have 29 pages that starts doing what it's doing? I have an objection that we're banning people to have more than 6 signs, or 6 flags, for example. I think one of the greatest things, we're getting ready to come up to 9/11 in a couple more days. If you may recall what happened after 9/11 in 2001, lots of people put flags in their yard. Lots of people put flags on their cars. If something like that happened again, if someone wanted to raise 6 flags and put them in different corners of their yard or whatnot, or in my particular case, I've got 5 acres. To be able to have someone writing out tickets because of that, I think is bad policy. But what I would ask that you guys do is maybe delay this reading so that the public has a chance to read on it and maybe make more comments. But obviously it needed an adjustment from last time, or you guys wouldn't have done it. So, thank you.
thank you. If the aldermen want, and to satisfy Scott, we can read each one of these that we have. I think that they've been read by our city attorney, they've been written by him, and they address the issues that we had. So I think we have a good ordinance. It's been a long time coming. I think it's fine. Dave, do you think, in your opinion, you've got everything pretty much covered?
In my opinion, it will pass muster, yes.
Okay, so if that's the case, if you don't want to read each one of these changes, then I would accept a motion to pass this as second read.
I move Bill.
Excuse me.
Oh, what?
I have a question. Last meeting, you stated that this was sent to the state, and they sent back recommendations, and you said everything was taken care of. Since then, I've seen documents that I don't think anything was taken care of. There was no changes made from those recommendations, and nothing was ever sent back to the state like you said it was. And I mean, it really makes not a whole lot of difference to me, but all I'm concerned about is the historical, whatever those letters are for our historic thing. Can that really mess that up? I mean, I don't know, but I'm just saying that since I've seen these letters and that, I'm thinking that are we doing the right thing without not going through the proper steps? And I don't know, but that's why I'm throwing this out there, because I want to make sure that we're on top of it, you know?
Let me answer your question. The letters that you refer to, I think there's probably 5 or 6 emails back and forth between the state and the Landmarks Commission will of the city. And these, the problems that we ended up with, and there was a group, and Tom Durham was part of it. We had Landmarks, Chuck Hartbauer was part of it, Marcia was part of it, I attended one of the meetings. And what they decided was that it's unworkable to put each one of these concerns into the ordinance, because these concerns have changed over and over again in time. The type of paint that could be used was changed. The color of paint were changed. And if we have it in the ordinance, then we've got to change the ordinance. So basically, their decision was that we allow Landmarks the purview over all signs in the historic district. And that way,
It was
they,
whose decision?
their decision, the committee looked at it, not mine. And they felt it was unworkable to have this in the ordinance, and that they should develop a policy manual that had written policy that covered every one of these things. And some of them are pretty easy. You just take the items that are delineated and put it in a policy manual, so you can have a consistent response. And that was their decision, that it would be a much more workable plan to do it as a policy rather than incorporate every one of these things, and there's probably more, into an ordinance and then have to change the ordinance every time some small thing changed. And Tom, is that pretty much what?
Yeah,
Why don't you come up here so people know who you are?
I also have a list of all the, or a copy of all those emails, and from the very beginning, from the time that we addressed the commission in Jeff City, these came back, and basically it says it right at the beginning: having reviewed this proposed sign ordinance, I have a few concerns as well as some questions and comments. There is no place in that that says anything other than possible suggestions or ideas that, you know, should be taken in consideration. That said, that means a policy of Landmark should be formed that says, okay, right now we recommend your sign be this, 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 and this. The sign ordinance gives the size and the restrictions, just the basics. Then once you go to, and this is any place in the city, once you go to, doesn't matter if it's landmark, I mean if it's historic or commercial, it doesn't matter. The sign ordinance addresses all the signs, gives dimensions of basic fundamentals. Now when it comes to the historic district, then the landmark needs to make a decision, as they do every meeting, to take each thing into consideration, whether or not it's lap siding or if it's mounting something to a brick. Each one of those are specific in nature and need to be addressed as a policy. Our policy says if it's this type of brick, you're going to mount this type of item to that. That's not what the sign ordinance says, and no place does it say that the state requires that the city make you do that. These are suggestions. Now, if we put those suggestions into the policy of landmarks, then those are the ones that are going to have to be enforced, size-wise, whatever specifications. Does that make sense?
Well, it makes sense. I just wanted to make sure that 10 years down the road, something comes up from the state and they say, well, y'all never sent this back for
No.
conclusion. You know, I mean, I'm just,
Right.
after reading what little bit I read, I'm thinking, is that a possibility? I mean, I don't know.
No, these are all recommendations that, through these emails, they're not restrictions or requirements for the landmark to follow. In fact, you know, we can or can't do, I guess, what we want to, and, you know, I'm not sure who would say that we're in violation other than the city itself, but I don't know that, you know, you're going to get the historic police to come in and investigate anything in the
They
city.
kind of do. I think there is like an audit for the CLG status.
CLG, I couldn't remember what it was.
So
Well, that's
but
what you're
there is somebody
looking for.
looking over our shoulder on that.
And, you know, as far as different types of signs, I mean, there's a lot of cities with the CLG, right?
Certified
Stat.
local government.
Right, anyway, that, you know, they have the same type of historic districts that we do, and they basically follow the same policies that we do. So, that said, I don't think that should be a concern, and no place that I've ever seen in any of the email correspondence says you can or cannot do such and such.
Okay.
All right, and then also, as far as patriotism, the restrictions on flags is made for a reason so that it doesn't, you know, gauge up the neighborhood or the business district or whatever. Now, when you want to be patriotic and put your flags out for the 4th of July or 9/11, that's just a temporary celebration. That's not a permanent thing. And so that doesn't really have any effect on, I don't think, on the sign ordinance.
Okay.
So,
Okay, thanks, Tom.
As Board of Alderman liaison to the Landmarks Commission, those gentlemen and ladies do an excellent, excellent job in making sure that any sign that they approve meets the historic guidelines. No one's gonna get anything by them. And if somebody puts one up without that, well, then that's why we have ordinances. So, but that's not an issue. I mean, the outfit in Jeff City, they have a lot of suggestions and stuff, but it's up to the Landmarks Commission to make sure it's done right, and they do an excellent job doing that.
You have a
Okay.
hand in the back.
Yeah, Scott, if you, what else do you have?
I was just going to mention, if you look at the flags, Chamber of Commerce has 4 flags.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, they got, I mean, if you count that property, or more than the 4 flags requirement. The Stoneville Winery and the courthouse, their flags are over 35 feet high. The Hermanoff has over 6 banners. Dollar General puts up a sign from their corporate offices, little windblown signs which are going to propose banning. And then, once again, the problem is, I haven't read the new one. I haven't had a chance to, unfortunately. But next time Dollar General has a list, and we have a recession, they go through a list, and they've got 50 stores to close, and they're gonna look at the ones that are underperforming, and you guys keep telling them they can't put a sign up or something like that, that'd be the one I would close. But you've got Stone, I mean, I'm just saying that the other thing, churches that don't have signs on their own property, and there's several of them, Shepherd of Hills, the Baptist Church, they're in public areas or whatnot. If you look at the way it was written the first time, like I said, I don't know what the second time is. I think it's gonna be bad policy to be telling them when it's time to replace it. Now, they're gonna be grandfathered in, because thank goodness you guys realize ex post facto. So when they need to be replaced, they won't be able to be compliant any longer.
Okay.
If you look at the sign Hardee's has right now, it's too high. If there was another restaurant that went into that spot, they would be able to put one there.
Well, we don't know if they would want to. I appreciate what
I appreciate
you're
the
saying, and thanks, Scott. Is there anybody else? Because I have a motion made to accept this.
I have one other question.
Sure.
Sorry. On the garage sale signs, which we've changed, we made a comment that if they didn't take those signs down the next day, that there would be fines involved. Didn't we make that comment, or
Huh?
I don't see that?
We did, but when I looked at it, I assumed that at the back where it talked about,
Oh, it's not
any,
on,
if you look at the very last page, 29, violations and enforcement, any violation of, any provision of this chapter shall be prosecuted as a misdemeanor. I'm
Okay.
assuming it says it there for,
okay, that covered that. Okay. The only other question I had then was the restrictions that there's no signs on public, basically on telephone poles. It seems to me about a year and a half ago, we approved a list of existing signs that are there and that they were grandfathered in.
Mhm.
Are they still
I
grandfathered?
think we say that.
Are they still
in here.
grandfathered in?
And I also think that we included yard sale signs on utility poles, because that's what you want.
Just for the day of the sale?
Right, and that's in there.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, to be clear, it says that the signs that are up on utility poles are grandfathered in.
Oh,
That's
no,
what we had decided.
only,
last time.
only,
I'm talking about the
only,
new one, that was the old rule.
well, I drove around, I don't see very many signs, but the ones that are gonna be grandfathered in are city use signs like snow route, city, what do you call it, neighborhood watch, things like that.
Windows blazing.
No, no. And general commercial signs that are on our, we don't need this ordinance to take things off our utility poles.
Well, we're not talking about taking them off, we're talking about leaving the ones on there that were already at.
Because we did this a year and a half ago, we discussed this and we went.
I have no problem with that because there aren't very many on there.
I don't
Okay, I
think
just
that's
don't want
what,
anybody to go around taking down signs.
I don't think
that
that's
are
what this
already
says though.
No, it doesn't say.
This does not say businesses can continue to have their signs on utility poles. There is no grandfathering for private businesses, correct?
Well, it also though says that they can come to us with a picture, or they can come to us and have their sign permitted. I just think, there aren't hardly any signs on utility poles.
A lot, but I'm just saying.
So,
There are
I
at
don't
least
think
14.
that, well, those are not all on utility poles.
Yeah, there are
No,
14
that's
utility
what we're
poles.
talking about, the signs that are already on the utility
Well,
pole.
it says if they're permitted, then they're allowed. So those 14 specifically are allowed.
It says that.
Yeah, when we,
What page, Trish?
well, it's where we introduce the way we're gonna introduce this bill. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take the signs off the utility pole that are not city signs and then anything that's permitted can stay up. So if there's a permit for something on a utility pole, then it can stay up there. But there's not very many of them. I couldn't hardly find it.
But there was never a permit process on those signs because they were put up some time ago. And then, anyway, we had discussed it and approved that. That's all I'm saying. It's
Yeah,
just, it's
and
just
then
not
it's-
in there, that's all.
I can-
I'm sorry I keep making waves.
No, I want to be clear too, because I'm going to end up in the middle of this. So they're all going to come down, and then they're going to apply for a permit to put them back up. Is that what I heard?
Well, take a picture of it and come to us and get a permit. They don't have to take it down. I don't think it makes any sense for them to take them down.
Are these-
Come to us and put them back
Are
up.
these permanent signs that have been there?
They are the ones that we've been allowing, the board has been voting to allow people, businesses, to put on utility poles
That are
with,
off the beaten track.
Some of them are pretty
like,
permanent. Okay.
yeah, Wings Ablazing, Red Barn Craft Shop.
Red Barn, I've got to say,
Red
Red Barn
Barn's
Craft
got
Shop
a
across the
couple.
street from my
There's
house, has been there
14.
longer than I have.
There are
And if
14
they're
of them.
permitted and approved, I don't think. we
And so I'm
can-
just wondering, everybody's gonna be wondering how to handle that.
Well, and also, Mark is gonna have to make a policy on how we initiate this. So he'll have to write down, we're gonna take these down, we're gonna not take those down. And people can come and get a permit. I don't think they ought to take their sign down, just take a picture and come and get a permit. If they already have a permit, it stays up.
Well, but not officially a permit, so they've gotten granted permission from the
Same
board,
thing.
if that's what you're gonna.
Yeah, same thing.
Okay.
If we've granted them permission to have, to have them up there and they exist on those poles tonight, we can't take them down or require them to take a picture and come in
Okay.
and apply
That's what I
for-
wanted
So they
apply
just
for a
stay
new
on.
permit.
Okay.
Just like any other sign that happens to violate the strict application of any of these regulations.
Right.
As we pass it tonight, we can't go back and require them to remove it or modify it or whatever.
What about the temporary, like, pennants and things that are up? I mean, those are temporary, like, people, like they set them outside,
don't we have
currently
something on
using them.
pennants
I mean,
And windblown devices, isn't that in there?
did we take that, we completely took that out, didn't we, last time? I
Yes.
think we took out the windblown, yeah, I think we did take that completely out, so that would be the whole point.
That's
Okay.
not good.
We were both on the board when we did it.
Okay. Any more?
Next question is, you know, Scott's to me, he's got a kind of valid point, you know, I know he's the only one here complaining, not complaining, making recommendations and that comments, excuse me, but, maybe there's other people that want to read this before we vote on, I don't know, you know, I think that's a legitimate request from a citizen.
Well, I would answer that this way. I agree with you in some ways, but this has been going on 8 years. And we've
That's
had
not his fault.
we've had meeting after meeting after meeting up here, and people have come and given all their advice, and it's actually been put in here. So I,
This is a brand new copy that was laying on our desk. This
it's
is
a
the
new
first
copy,
reading.
but it's not new. 99.9% of it is exactly the same as it was 6 years ago and 4 years ago. And we can always, like we do with every ordinance, we can make a change in it in 6 months if we find it necessary, or 2 years, or whatever. But if we continue to move and wait and send it back to a committee and do something, we're gonna be 2 years from now, we'll be right where we are. So I think it's been seen by everybody at least 4 or 5 times. And I'd like to make a decision tonight on this, and we'll change whatever we need to change, if anything needs to be changed, which I doubt. So, having said that,
Could we just move it for the next meeting?
I won't be at the next meeting.
So we still vote on it?
well, I don't know, we have a motion made, we need to do something. Do I have a second on this? You might not have a second? Have a second?
I think we should table it, because this is, some of this is new.
Okay.
That we didn't see till
Okay,
tonight.
Okay, then do you want to withdraw your motion?
I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay, we're gonna table this until this can be put out for everybody to see. And Mr. McGarry, is he still here? Because we can give him a copy.
Mayor?
Oh, I get a copy?
Here,
Especially because that saved me from paying 10 cents a copy for a freedom of information.
There you go.
request. Thank you.
Mhm.
Mayor,
Yes,
I hope that in 2 weeks, you don't have another person from the city come out and say, oops, I didn't get to read something. Better postpone it again. Okay?
okay.
They literally just got
Everybody
this
has
draft.
copies.
I'm just saying that, you know, they keep pushing it back.
But we won't have a new document next time.
All right.
It'll be
We
this
don't
one.
have one of the aldermen, so it may not be in 2 weeks. Because I want all the aldermen to be here.
Guys, this has been an 8-year journey. It precedes everybody that's been sitting up here. And this journey is about an end. If we stop and throw rocks at every dog we bark, it's never going to end. So sooner or later, we're going to have to vote on
Right.
it. Well, I won't be
And
here.
it's gonna be a month.
Why can't we vote? You would break a tie, right?
Oh, we can vote, yeah, we have
There's
a
3 of
quorum.
them to be a tie.
Right. Now, the problem with that is if somebody abstains, then we don't have a tie and it's gonna lose, so I don't wanna go through that. We've waited all this time, so, Dave, when will you be,
The meeting afterwards.
afterwards? Well, we're gonna have to put it off a month then, unless you wanna do it some other way.
That's up to you.
You've pretty much exhausted the possibilities.
Okay, well, we're gonna table
You-
this.
You could certainly put it on the agenda for the next meeting and a 3-0 vote. A majority of the Board of Aldermen are required to pass an ordinance. And not a majority of the quorum, so 2-1 doesn't pass an ordinance, it has to be 3-0.
That's what I'm
So-
saying.
Yeah.
So, if the objection is that we're going to, we want to have it read and put out for scrutiny, then that would be, we could put it on in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Because
as
we'll
long
have-
as long as you don't make any more changes to the thing. Yeah.
But we don't have any changes, no motions made to make any changes, so it'll be just like this. That's what we'll do then, okay. We're going to table it for two weeks.
Weeks, okay.
All right. The, want to go forward there, Dave?
Could I ask something before we
Yeah.
move forward? Would you ask anybody that had any changes or comments to come before, or to bring their changes to Trish or somebody before the next meeting?
They just said they didn't have any.
No, but not, if it's gonna be out for public, what if
You
Scott
mean
has?
public
Yes,
comments?
yes.
Have the public meeting.
Are we,
in 2 weeks.
let me ask you this, are we, I don't know if I can, but are we, you know what, we'll have to decide how we're gonna do that, because if somebody has something we haven't thought of, which is extremely unlikely, but I think we ought to, say if we're gonna wait, we ought to make sure that we research it. And I would say that if somebody has an objection, they should specifically put it in writing. And if they can get it to us, we can research it before 2 weeks, and Dave can look at it. Does that make sense?
I think you want to do that before somebody walks in and the next meeting that has another
Right.
issue.
Okay, so we will give everybody a chance that's out there. We're gonna put this on hermanmo.com. Can we do that? Okay, it'll be on hermanmo.com for everybody to see. Anybody that wants a copy of it can come to the city hall and get a copy. We will entertain any changes or comments for changes that are specific up through a week from next Tuesday. That gives them a full week to get their thoughts together and write things down and get it to us. Now, what's the date of that?
A week from Tuesday?
17th. Today's the 9th. 16th.
16th is the
So
next one.
16th is the date to get any comments, changes, suggestions in detail to us so that we can research it and bring it up again in 2 weeks at the meeting on the 23rd.
And I would think that if you don't have any comments before then, and we get to the meeting, then we vote on it as is.
Okay.
Again, not make changes that night.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? All right. Dave?
Next on the agenda is bill number 2019-36, an ordinance to approve a municipal services and material contract by and between the city of Herman, Missouri and NB West Contracting Company for paving a portion of Epley-Fricky Drive.
Now, this is the CTOL that you asked about. And so we're asking for approval of a material contract for that payment. Is there any
I move bill
discussion?
2019-36 be approved, first read.
We have a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mark, do we need to read that twice to get
Yes,
this in?
please. Yes.
All right. Bill number
Way long enough.
2019-36, an ordinance to approve a municipal services and material contract by and between the city of Herman, Missouri and NB West Contracting Company for paving a portion of Epley-Fricky Drive.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Second read. Motion made to approve it, second read, and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Next is bill number 2019-37, an ordinance to approve a creative services agreement by and between the city of Herman, Missouri and Branding Bear LLC.
Make a motion we approve.
Wait, I have a
We
question.
have some discussion on
I
that.
have a question, I'm sorry. With this agreement, like the blog and different things, the guest houses and lodging people, all the lodging people pay to get on the blog? Is that
Tammy's right there.
That is correct.
okay? And then when they make that payment, who gets that money? Does Branding Bear get it?
No. Tourism budget gets it.
Tourism, okay?
So how does that work?
We have a shopping cart set up on visitherman.com, and the businesses go on to that shopping cart to purchase a date for their business to be featured on that certain date.
Okay, and the account is a city account? How does the money?
Yes, the money
Okay.
is being direct deposited into
The
the
city
lodging
account.
tax fund that I manage.
Okay. Good.
Yep. Square.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so there we have it. Any other discussion?
Now I'll make a motion to accept bill
Second.
number 2019-37.
Okay, now we have a motion made and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. Is there any reason to second read that tonight?
Is that
It's
any
okay.
second?
We'll read it and approve it next time?
I think we still have 3 weeks until their next contract is over. So
Okay.
yes.
All right, next.
Next is bill number 2019-38, an ordinance to amend section 150.090 user fees of chapter 150 parks of the municipal code of the city of Herman. And this is to basically revise these camping fees that you see here on draft.
And that goes into effect, I believe,
January 1st,
2021.
Shirley, weren't we gonna take off the electric and water bill?
We took off just the electric.
I noticed
Is it
there's,
electric?
The
I
electric
thought
and
I
water, we
approved.
were gonna take that off for the $25 because we don't have just electric and water anymore.
Okay, sorry, I thought we got that.
Well,
So there's electric, water, and sewer, and then there's electric.
I thought I
And then
approved that
there's
against
text.
what I sent you, now I don't.
They've been rapidly improving all of the hookup sites, and now they're getting more and more.
so this needs to be scratched. Is that what she's talking about?
That's the old rate, right?
Yeah,
No,
up
just-
here is the old,
Yeah, that's the old, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what, so we're
It's not on
good.
the new rate.
So this is the old,
so it's going from
Yeah.
600 to
I
750.
printed this off of the website.
yeah, and then, but on the back page at the very end is the new where it has it gone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's okay. I thought I looked at that.
Sorry.
No, you're okay.
So we have what we want,
No, that's all right.
and
I'm not-
it satisfies Carol. Right, Carol?
Do you know,
Right.
do
Okay.
you know why there's an odd amount, like tent camping is 8, and everything else is 5, or,
Have to ask
Right,
Harburg.
so we did.
and they didn't raise those?
Not tent camping, no.
Okay? Do I have any further discussion of that? Do
I
have
move
a-
Bill 2019-38 for Rick.
We have a motion for Mr. Farber. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion's carried. Old business, we have a discussion this evening about the transfer of municipal court to Associates Circuit Court. And basically, this is, we would change the venue of the court and the judge. We would now use a municipal, or a county judge who specializes in municipal courts. Chairman, stop me if I get it out. And we would save some money on this by doing this. The reason we've looked at it very carefully is because some people are struggling with this around the state. Mainly because the dockets get so big that it takes a long time for somebody that has a traffic ticket to go to court. I'm not convinced that that would happen here, but we're gonna meet, tomorrow we have a phone conference with Kevin Richardson, the prosecuting attorney, and the clerk of the county court, and Anita and Trish, I think, and myself, to go over our concerns. And I'm not against it. I just want to say that I just want to make sure, once we make the decision, it's going to be extremely hard to go back. It's possible, but it's going to be difficult.
Well, there's another consideration in this. Municipalities our size does not have a large staff to handle the court. Generally, it's one person that handles it. Unfortunately, it got hammered home a little bit here this last year. A very nice lady up in Owensville who took care of their municipal court suddenly became ill and died. They lost the person who ran the court, basically through the city office. I mean, there was no one else. And it's very difficult for someone else to walk into that position and take over. Because, this person, just because they're the only one, is very intimately familiar with the entire thing. I mean, well, if you transfer to the county, they have more of a backup system, bigger staffs and things to be able to handle this. I could go either way on it, but I can certainly see the advantages of having the county take it over.
We're not going to vote tonight, but my concern with it is how the length of time it takes to get somebody before the court, and also the continued discussion. This all started with the Ferguson problems that they had in Ferguson, and the fact that the state believes there should be a delineation of the court systems and the personnel in the county, in the city. And they actually have done quite a bit of damage to the ability of a municipal court to actually compel somebody, for instance, to even come to court. I hate to mention that, because there may be somebody out there who will now say, well, I'm not going to go. But we have had cases in the past where people refuse to go to court. Now, I believe that some of this is being changed now, and they're going to strengthen the municipal court. And my comment is to the lady, the Missouri Municipal League, that's been communicating with me, what exactly are these changes that you're proposing that the state make? And will they apply to the Associate Circuit Court as well as our court? So in other words, are we going to be able to compel somebody? We have to have the same prosecutor. Would Mr. Richardson be able to compel somebody to actually come to court? Would the judge be able to do that? And I don't know the answers, but we're supposed to talk tomorrow, and I've asked for a very quick response from Missouri Municipal League to give us what exactly it is that they're talking about, changing. It's supposed to make it better. Other than that, it's just a matter of, and we also are running out of time, because Trish has budgeted money through the end of the year, and we have on November 1st, we're going to have to write the tickets differently, so they'll go up to the Associate Circuit Court instead of coming to our court. And so we've got to have this done really quickly. So I'm going to gather this, we're going to get together and we're going to talk about it. And next time, we should have a much better idea of where we stand and what we think will happen if we change and what will happen if we don't change. So we wanted to get this out in the open and everybody up to speed on it as far as the Alderman goes. Dave, do you have anything to add to this? Trish, do you have anything?
Well, just because it might be new to the general public, you know, a little background information, as the mayor said, that this all really stems from the problems that they had in Ferguson, and they thought, you know, small municipalities, you know, had some issues or something. So they've put a lot of stringent laws that that affect small municipalities, make it almost impossible for small municipalities to comply. Like 15 hours, the court clerk has to be 15 hours in the office and then 15 hours available by phone. Well, a lot of these small towns, it only takes them 3 or 4 hours a month for their court. And they can't afford to have somebody there 30 hours a week. And then also in small cities, so many people wear different hats. Like in a lot of cities, the clerk is also the municipal clerk. Well, that's completely illegal now. And so even there's an issue even with Anita being the deputy clerk and being the municipal clerk the way this is. And those are just some examples. And they want everybody to go on an automated software package through the state and everything, which is good, but it is an expense and training, and so again, a burden for, you know, small municipalities. But so Gasconade and Rosebud have already done that, and Owensville now as well are going already through the circuit court. So yeah, it's a discussion worthy to be had. We had basically at budget time, we basically decided then, because we only budgeted 6 months, because that's how long the process is supposed to be to transfer the court. So if we're not going to do that, we'll have to do some creative thinking.
And also the court load, the words I want to talk to the clerk, is the load is probably going to be doubled. I think we have as much as, maybe more than Owensville, and the other two don't have very much. So we're dumping a lot on the county. They're going to have to, they have an unfunded mandate. They've got to pay for all this. They don't get any money for it. And my understanding is they don't have the money to do it. So where are we going to put ourselves? I'm not really sure, but hopefully the clerk has some idea, and we can find out. Okay? Okay, if there isn't anything else on that, then new business. Anybody have, I have one item, but if anybody, I'll tell you what mine is. And mine is that I've watched the roofs be put on down on Market Street, and those roofs are steep, and I saw somebody fall. I didn't fall off, they were able to grab on and hold on. They only fell 2 or 3 feet, but they didn't have any kind of tether on. And had they fallen down, there was somebody else below them working on that same sheet of metal, they might have knocked them off the roof. So I think that we should give some consideration to some kind of rule, an ordinance or whatever, that requires people working on second-story roofs to somehow have a restraining device connected to them that would keep them from falling off the roof. Now, I don't know. I'm not, we ought to at least think about it.
I think OSHA would cover those.
Yeah.
Maybe
Most
so.
rules would come into apply there. You know, with the age of the town, we have a lot of roofs with 12 pitches on them, and they're a restraining device. It's probably an excellent idea, but you also have others that are flat roofs
Right.
or very little pitch to them. I mean, I don't know that OSHA discriminates between them. If there's
I
certain
don't know what
pitches.
OSHA does.
Lee, do you know?
But on a certain,
Oh, what does a restraining device require when they're working on a roof?
steep pitch roof.
I really don't know because I deliberately don't know. This doesn't come under my classification. I think the city attorney ought to probably address that as far as OSHA covers these things and where the liability lies.
If they're a contractor, in order to get a permit to do that, they do have to provide proof of insurance, which would cover their employee, and
Say that again, Jim?
the contractor would have to have,
Show that they have work
They
comp
got workers'
insurance
comp,
before they
workers'
get a
comp.
business license.
in
Yeah.
case of an accident, the city couldn't be held liable.
I don't know how we can, I don't know.
Well, I've been asked about it because of those steep roofs there on Market Street, the guys who work on it, so that's contractor's responsibility, that's
It's
not the
just-
city.
It's just like the fire department, we don't tie ourselves off when we go up and chop a hole to ventilate. I look at it from a different angle because it's part of the job, get up and get it done. You know, these guys are doing it every day. You know,
Right.
yes, they should be tied off, but do they? No, they don't.
Like-
I don't know if it's our responsibility, I guess is what I'm saying. I don't think it is.
Well, I wanted to bring it up because I saw that, and probably as high as they were, somebody would have been hurt, and maybe 2 people, because there was somebody right below them. And you would think that the contractor would require that, but they apparently don't always require it, so there you have it. We know about it, and if we want to do something, fine, if we don't, we don't. Now, that's all I had for new business. What
I'm not
else?
sure if this is old business or new business, but the stop sign, 90 days, is just about up.
I was gonna ask about that. Are we gonna do
Yeah.
the speed bumps, or what are we doing?
I don't know, I don't know when it's up.
Well,
Does
90
anybody know?
days, I think it's actually like a week from today or something like that, but
Yeah, it should be about, I figured the next board meeting, we should
Okay.
have to have ordinances to vote on or recommended.
okay, we'll wait till then? That's fine.
I think we put them up, if I remember, around 18th or 19th of June. So therefore, you had 90 days there in July, August, September.
Is 90 days a hard and fast date?
It says in the ordinance that the traffic administrator may put up where he feels deemed not to exceed 90 days.
Okay. Okay, so, do you want to propose that we go ahead and write an ordinance? Or I guess maybe we should vote, or we could vote on it next time and vote on whether we want to create an ordinance. That way, if we don't, we haven't gone through the trouble of actually doing it and the expense of actually
Well,
doing it.
I'm not gonna be here at the next meeting, so I'll just put my 2 cents in worth right now. The majority of the stop signs are working fine. The one at Stark Boulevard on Washington Street, I live on the street, I like what the stop sign's supposed to be doing and what it is actually doing, but the offset intersection is causing problems. That's the only one. If it was not an offset intersection, I'd sit right here and dug my heels in and say that it needs to stay there. But my biggest complaint on that one is people that come through the stop sign and they're halfway through, and someone else is sitting there and nobody knows which way to go. Now,
They
to me, the
can't-
rules of the road are pretty specific, they're pretty simple and everything, but it's something new and people are just having problems with it. We had the same problems up on Gutenberg, and what is it, 12th Street, went past Ronnie's house right there with that offset intersection. I myself ran it, heck, right in front of the chief of police one day. It was just because we never knew which was where. And that's the one, the rest of them I really don't have a problem with. That particular one, while I like it there, it's just causing problems I think we don't need.
Okay.
That's what I've heard too. I also spoke to the school, I think a few days after the buses were started up and school started. The superintendent, I think he said that, I remember trying, I don't want to quote him, but if they need to stay, that's fine, but they'd rather not have them there.
All of them?
Just those two,
Okay, well, I think if he's gonna make a comment,
11th and then also.
we should get, I think we ought to get his comment, and I'll try and get it. So if that's how he feels, that's important. It's an important comment. So, maybe he'll write it down and send us an email.
Like David, I live there and I live right there at that intersection. And I made it a point to sit out there in the morning with the buses going to and coming back. Never seen the first problem. Traffic rolled nice and smooth and easy. We sat out there from 2 o'clock in the afternoon till 4 o'clock in the evening. Buses and traffic goes through. Not the first side of a problem. Only thing I did notice, I did mention to David, is when the school buses come through in the morning, they're taking an alternate route through the residential section, narrower streets, and we have to make a wide turn onto Washington. Actually, they're into the left lane because the streets are not designed for that size of equipment to be operating. Actually, it's against one of the city ordinances that a commercial vehicle can't operate on those where there's other traffic design. I did put together some data, 'cause I knew it was coming up, just kind of refreshing our ideas. I pretty much know that it's gonna be a no, but there again, I mentioned in here too, is recently, there was some opposition to the sales tax, and a lot of it was that they had the wrong data. They didn't know the facts. And I've spelled out what I've been told, because my ear's been bent a lot on that they're stupid, they don't belong there. I almost got rear-ended. I would sue the city. Correlates right back to what was against the sales tax. There's no proof, there's no data, nothing's happened. It's running smooth. Anybody wants to come sit on my front porch and the hours as the buses go by can do so. If they're down, signs come down, that's fine. That's what this political group is supposed to do. The majority says no, then it's no. But the offset intersection will still be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I have to say. Now, I'll give you guys a copy of this.
Well, just to be clear, the only one that I'm ambivalent about is the one on Washington Street. The rest of them are doing what
You mean the Washington and Stark?
Start west of.
The rest of them are doing what they're supposed to do.
But that's why, there again, it's spelled out in here, that's the highest traveled street we got in town, that's a school zone, park zone, and residential. There's no other run. There's more offset intersections, one at 12th and, but it's not actually at Ronnie's, because that's actually a T intersection. But up there where 12th and Gutenberg, there's actually sign up that says caution offset intersection. And you come down Gutenberg, down by the city shed, you have East 6th Street on this side, High Street on this side, then the intersections of Shepherd Branch and East 6th Street, then a one-lane bridge into one of the most confusing streets I've ever seen is Gutenberg.
Yeah, Mark, well, since he brought that up, I think them lines on Gutenberg could use a little repainting down there.
As I turn off Fifth Street, I'm always on the wrong side.
Wrong side of the street, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the general consensus? We're gonna bring it up.
You're gonna have to
2
make a
weeks.
decision at the next meeting,
At the next meeting.
or they come down just by ordinance. He can only have them up for 90 days
Yeah,
unless somebody here
90
makes a decision.
Okay. Okay, so are you suggesting we go ahead and have an ordinance ready Or,
I don't know, was just giving you my viewpoints.
Because
I'm
it's-
not going to be here, guys.
well, the decision is complex. We can approve 2 and not 1. That would be one way of doing it. So I'm kind of asking for some guidance here.
From what I gathered when we discussed it, the 2 on that side of the room do not like that one at Stark and Washington.
I'm not in favor of it at all.
Okay.
Okay?
So you're gonna have 3 votes to take that one down. The rest of them, like I said, I haven't had a lot of complaints on. I think they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I don't have that problem with the other 2.
Okay,
Or 3, or 4.
we'll prepare an ordinance to that effect, to approve the 2 and not approve the
Well,
other.
actually, there's more than 2 because we put them on 7th Street too, by the
Yeah.
school, right?
7th Street,
Coming down
7th,
Mozart
8th.
and 5th.
or 8.
No complaints on that one. No complaints on Fifth Street. Just Washington was the only
Yeah.
complaint.
So we're gonna leave the new ones up except the one at Stark and Washington.
Yeah, that's, like I said, I almost got creamed there, and I sat there a couple times and watched, and
Well, I
and I
read-
know the 4 police have watched, how many people run it, because it's.
They're still running it yet today.
Well, I
They
got
run it at
halfway
6
through
in the
it.
morning when I
Yeah, it's a little.
in the car.
So,
So we're gonna do the one at 11th, but take the one down at Stark.
The one at, yeah,
Stark and 11th Street been there for 50
you
years.
need the ones taken
Just
out,
one on Washington.
Southbound traffic. on
Washington and Stark is the one that comes down.
North and South, Washington.
North and South Washington.
Both of those.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because those were the ones that were just added.
Yep.
But I do agree that
And those-
maybe to slow people down, I still think maybe a speed bump.
I'm against
Yeah.
speed bumps too.
I think speed bumps would probably cause us more nightmares than the
Well, I
south
think you'd
side.
have, like this weekend, yesterday with the car show, I mean, it rained, they weren't here, but all these people that had these high-tech cars and low profile,
It should be one less
Take the
over
front
for the chief.
spoiler off, and who are they gonna sue?
It's just bad I put
So
together.
Dave, you got it? You got it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. We will prepare an ordinance then to keep the ones, and we probably won't, I don't know how to write it, but we will not keep the one at Stark and Washington. Okay? That will not be approved. And then we can vote on that next time, and we should be within our time.
But just as a point, you don't need an ordinance to take that one down. Mark, we've already decided. You want us to just go ahead and have them taken down.
Which one?
Stark and
On Washington Street.
Okay. The
Both
one at
ways.
Stark.
Yeah, that's Stark.
both ways.
Well, not that Stark Boulevard. That one's been there forever.
No, the one,
What's
the
the-
Washington
The
Street.
ones running north and
Southbound
south.
Washington.
And the one at 11th, you want that, both of them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want that one
The
down?
new ones you just put up on
Gotcha,
that
on
interest.
Washington, gotcha. We'll take them down.
I'm gonna point to Mark.
Okay,
You'll
yes, so
email
it's-
Dave.
Well, we'll make sure he takes down the right
Oh,
side.
but sign.
Right?
2 of them are coming down. 2 new ones on Washington.
And then Washington, one is north, one is south.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now,
All right, good. I think I got it.
Clear as mud.
Clear as mud.
If not,
All
I'll just
right.
walk up there. Bring me a wrench.
All right, is there any other old or new business that we didn't talk about? Bruce, you have any?
I'll be quiet.
Okay, motions, the minutes,
Move to approve.
I'll second.
the motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Invoices for payment.
Make a motion, we pay the bills.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made to pay the bills and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion's carried. We have a conditional use permit renewal, Wayne and Constance Lebu, Bank Bar, liquor sales for outdoor consumption at 115 Schiller Street.
Make a motion, we approve.
I second.
And I believe that one says music off by 10, does it not?
Yes, these both do.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Conditional use permit renewal, Hermanoff Inc., DBA 10 Mill Brewing Company, liquor sales for outdoor consumption at 114 Gutenberg Street, another music off by 10.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Have a motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. We have a liquor license for HLM Hospitality LLC, Hannah Hessler, at 305 Schiller Street. next to the health department,
304 Schiller Street.
304 Shore Street. Sorry.
Chief Walker has approved, I will approve it.
We have a motion made and seconded to approve this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. We have approved a state bid for a Bobcat skid steer. We have paperwork in here. I believe the amount's $28,342.40. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion made over here and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Do we need to do that twice? Not a motion? Not a motion, one time's good. Okay. We have approved bid for Arkansas Electric for transformers. I believe the amount's $51,450.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. We have approved bid for, how do we say that, Lang Stegeman for salt, $80 a ton delivered.
Make a motion we approve.
Second.
Same time.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. We have a special event application, Herman Area Hospital, District Hospital, the 5K walk run, various streets and sidewalks on the west side of town, November 28, 2019.
Is this the turkey trot?
Yes, it is.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion's made over here and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is carried. There being no reports, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good night. Okay, we got something.
Give me just a couple
Do you
minutes,
want-
folks.
You want a copy of this?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Could I get one in the big print? I know.
Put the glasses on.
I've got a magnifier on my phone. I think got their attention. We'll see.
Oh, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I just
So
think.
better. No, I'm not always.
You know, the only one pictures, I knew, there were two.
And I down serious.
We didn't do that.